everybody. Happy Thursday. Welcome into Fresh Takes with Russo and Felice. I'm the Russo portion of this. Paul Russo across from me, the Felice portion of this. Nick Felice. Nick, how's it going?
I'm doing good, Paul.
Good.
Nate, good show ahead of us here. If you watched last week's episode and you're watching this one, we are sorry about if you took our advice about our brackets.
Well, maybe one more a little so than other, but you know.
Yeah, Paul's doing a lot better this year than his usual standard.
I got the Fire Emblem next to my bracket. I'm thrilled.
I'm still at the bottom as where I belong. But I am in 77th place out of 78 people, so
that'll happen.
Watch out.
Yeah, as always, Nate Sharman behind the scenes producing. You'll hear his voice definitely today. We got a lot to get to. Some basketball still, a little baseball, but let's jump right on in to March Madness. It's living up to the name, living up to the billing this year. I feel like we got to start with the historical aspect of this, right? Fairleigh Dickinson upsetting Purdue, go from, play their way in to beating Purdue to really, to be fair, they took FAU down to the, kind of wire before you get into the foul situation and stuff like that. But make history along the way with it. What a story. What a story for the FDU Knights.
Yeah, second 16 seed to ever win. It's just what made this one even more special, I think, is because I think there's two reasons. One, they won a playing game. I'm not sure. I don't think UMBC won a playing game. They were in the first four.
Mm-hmm.
Usually when you think a team that move on to the round is 32 out of the first four is
right.
a 11 or 12 seed, not the 16 seed. So and I think actually another point, they didn't win their conference tournament. It was Merrimack, I'm pretty sure.
Right, correct, yeah.
And so they shouldn't even been in the field. And then they go into the play-in, and then they win the play-in, and then they beat Purdue, who was number one in the country for most of this year. It's an unbelievable story. Now their head coach isn't even their coach anymore. Now he's the coach of Iona.
I was going to say we'll get into that more so here in a couple minutes because the coaching cycle has already been crazy, as we know. We do have to talk about that, but
it's unbelievable. They almost beat FAU. They gave FAU. They were in the lead late in that game. It's a really remarkable run. I mean, it overshadowed, I think, a lot of other big upsets in this tournament because the Ferrum win, the Princeton still playing. Usually those would be talked about a lot more. But now that we have another 16 seed, and your brother actually made a great point yesterday. Paul, his brother Pat. We have a group message and. Pat said, remember when we used to debate what would happen first, the Cleveland Browns winning the Super Bowl or a 16 seed winning? Now it's happened twice, and the Browns are still without a Super Bowl. But, so it's a great win. Ruined my bracket, but, we were at those games, the ones in Albany for the Indiana, Kent State, and also Miami Drake. And I think the loudest point of that entire night was with halftime of the Drake-Miami game when they put the Purdue game on. I think when they were scoring buckets in the game was the loudest that place got.
It's just nuts. Fairleigh Dickinson, right, 4-22 last year. Were they sub 500 this year too, or I think they were just above 500. But 4-22 last year. Look, they won the play-in game by double digits and then some, right? They won by 23. Just an absolutely insane run from them. And I do want to make a note. Their SID, which if you know anything about college athletics, is more or less your liaison for the athletic teams to media. They kind of handle PR type stuff. Even I went to a Division II school. Okay, we had the SID was a adult. Okay.
As they usually are.
Their SID at Fairleigh Dickinson is a junior at the school, and an absolutely incredible run. I believe he is working. Yeah, he is working as he is working the Final Four this year now officially because of the run he handled. Pretty much, like I said, he handled everything from handling all the media obligations to after the Purdue thing to doing everything else afterwards. He's the key part. If you watch after the weekend on, I believe it's Monday. Yeah, Monday. Fairleigh Dickinson, now former head coach Tobin Anderson, was on the Today Show. He was the one who handled the connections with that more than likely. It's just nuts. Like I said, I mean, even I would assume, like, Nick, you went to CUCA, they're a D3 school. Your SID is, I'm assuming, an adult in the room, as is most institutions, let alone a Division I basketball program. So it's just nuts. The whole situation is crazy.
Yeah, and also going back on Tobin there, I don't think he wasn't taking any shots at Purdue, but
no.
His statement that he said, the more and more I watch Purdue, the more and more I think we could beat them.
Yeah, I mean,
and he lived up to that statement.
Yeah.
So.
You did allude to the fact that this was a very hectic weekend, that obviously this one had to take precedent of upsets, but it's really the collective, I'd say, dropping of blue bloods here this tournament. You mentioned, right, and I think in this day and age, I don't think we fully call Virginia a blue blood at this point, but certainly one of the competitors. But that being said, Kansas goes down, Duke goes down, Arizona goes down, absolutely chaos. Kentucky goes down. And I think it goes back to what we discussed, back in January and the beginning of February, how I don't necessarily think teams have gotten worse. I don't maybe necessarily think teams have gotten, say, better. But I think that with parity to say an all-time high, I think this is going to become the norm at this point, in a way. Yeah,
I mean, the thing about that, the Blue Bloods go down. Kentucky and Duke were the...
I mean, Indiana as well.
Yeah. I mean, they weren't supposed to win by seed-wise. They weren't supposed to win their second-round games, but, it is something.
But I disagree with you on that, because they went into the games as favorites. Sure. And I think, to me, I don't consider an 8 versus 9 an upset when the 9 wins. I have a hard time doing a 5 being a 4 as an upset then.
Yeah, you were spot on with FAU, by the way. Your 9 seed.
Talons up. Hoot, hoot.
But, it's something to see them go.
Yeah.
I think in the long run, it's good for the sport. It's because, you're a big college football guy.
Yeah. I'm a big college sports guy at this point, to be honest.
Big college football guy, though, as well. And I don't think it was great. The great for the sport that Clemson and Alabama kept playing in the national title game. What was it, 3 years in a row there?
Right, yeah.
I mean, sure, it's a dynasty. It's great hard work by those programs. But, it's always nice to see a little parity, seeing some upsets.
Yeah, I think the difference there to a degree is, at least in basketball, the way I always kind of look at it is like maybe the home factor a little bit here. If you're, say, in Seattle, right, like you can go to Washington and be competitive in basketball and you have a realistic shot, to be fair. Or you can at least keep it on the West Coast. You can go to Oregon. You can go to UCLA. You can go to USC now. You can, I'd say the options are more wide in that sense. Whereas in college football, sure, you can do the hometown thing if you're from Seattle and stay in Washington, but your better opportunities will come the further east you go. I mean, college football, although the West Coast culture of it's very good and very passionate, still landlocked as, primarily Southeast, I think the Midwest is kind of coming in here now a little bit officially with the Big Ten again. But, and this is it's definitely a different discussion for a different time, but I'd say until the ACC and Pac-12 kind of realize they probably need to do some sort of alliance at the very least, then nothing's going to change. But, again, different discussion.
But college basketball is great. Princeton is literally in the final 6 teams fighting for a national championship. Like the Princeton, were they Tigers?
Yes.
The Princeton Tigers can win the national title in college basketball. I mean, how great is that?
Yeah.
A team like we Syracuse, they have to go undefeated, even though it's going to change a little bit. Maybe they only have to lose once in the 12-team playoff. But in the 14 playoff, they have to go undefeated, ACC school like Syracuse, just to have a shot at the national title. And then you got Princeton, who's lost games throughout the year, win your conference, and here you are, win a couple games. Now you're just 4 wins away from a national title.
Yeah, it's nuts. were there any other, before we get into the coaching thing here, and I do want, before we even talk about the coaching, I do want to talk about us three. We did go to the first round games Friday night in Albany.
Very cool.
Were there anything else to kind of call you off guard a little bit this weekend? Because for me, I don't know if it was so much like we slept on certain teams, but like it's something that even like Nate brought up today. We were talking off air a little bit about the games tonight, and like Kansas State is like a dog tonight against Michigan State. Like, I think it's these teams that we were kind of like sleeping on, quote unquote. Like they're the ones kind of making the most ruckus right now. Like a team to me, for example, that kind of fits this bill a little bit. Arkansas. Okay, they beat Illinois by 10. That was a dogfight. They go down the wire with Kansas, but Arkansas has 2 NBA lottery players in that starting 5, and like nobody's talking about that. Like they could easily beat UConn. They could easily beat the winner of Gonzaga UCLA and find themselves in the Final Four. And we're going to talk about how an 8 seed's back in the Final Four or something like that. But in actuality, it's like, is it that surprising though? Like, so it's like weird how like I feel like these teams that we're maybe undervaluing, say like even like a Kansas State, who is a 3 seed, we're undervaluing. That part to me is kind of crazy.
So you asked me what I was surprised by?
Yeah.
Other than my hotel room didn't have True TV.
Oh, that's just a tough scene for you.
But yeah, I think a 9 seed or worse is going to win a national title eventually. I don't know if it's going to be this year.
I don't think it's going to be this year.
There's only 2 options. It's only
FAU
and Princeton.
FAU at 9, Princeton at 15.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
What I've noticed about this tournament is coaching.
Mm-hmm.
You see some teams up there, you're like, oh, Arkansas, Xavier's up there.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to realize who those coaches are. You got, was Eric Musselman?
Yeah, Musselman in Arkansas. Sean Miller at Xavier. Yeah.
So these are coaches that have been in the tournament.
Right. I was about to say, it's a team like San Diego State with 5. Like Brian Dutcher is he's not well enough known as he should be nationally. He was the top assistant for Fisher at Michigan, followed into San Diego State. Brian Dutcher is, to me, one of the most underrated coaches in basketball.
Not surprising. Izzo always has to carry the Big Ten.
God.
It's tough to win a national title.
Right.
Mick Cronin's a great coach,
Yeah.
but he's never won a national title.
Right.
Mark Few never won a national title. Great coach.
Yeah.
So you got some really good coaches
Yeah.
in this final 16, and
Hurley versus Musselman is going to be an absolute psychotic matchup. By the way,
Yes.
in terms of like,
and as crazy as Hurley is on the sideline,
Yeah.
he's a hell of a coach.
oh, he is, yeah.
He is.
No, he definitely is. I think, like I brought up last week, I think I wouldn't say he saved his job, but I think it kind of saves the discussion having to be had.
It's different now.
Yeah.
When we were talking about that, is he going to get knocked out in the first
Right.
round again?
Right.
By Iona there.
Yeah.
But now he's won a couple games, and now he's finally proven that he can win some tournament games because
Yeah.
you can't keep going years in
Right.
first round
Right.
exits.
All right, before we get to the coaching carousel, Nate, get that mic opened up here because myself, you, Nick, and Nate, because we were in the Albany region for the high school basketball championships, and obviously we're discussing that later on, we decided to go to the first round, second session Friday night in Albany. Saw Miami and Drake play, saw Indiana and Kent State play. Just what an atmosphere. What an atmosphere to be in. It was incredible. It's up there with, even being a first round games, it's up there for one of the top sports experiences I've ever been at.
Yeah. And this is just Albany. I can't
Right.
imagine what another, like going to the Garden or
This weekend, yeah.
or the Final Four. That would be unbelievable. But it was a great experience. First time I've ever gone to any postseason game. I have never been to a postseason professional game or collegiate game. So
How about that?
and it was the first time I ever been to a college basketball game that wasn't at a Division I college basketball game that wasn't at the Dome. So it was pretty. The Dome's a great place to go to for college basketball. So, it was pretty cool. Didn't get the upsets we were hoping for, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, Drake took Miami down the wire, but
Yes.
yeah.
That was a great game. The second
Nate-
game, not as much.
Yeah. Nate, how about you over there?
Yeah, it was even cooler than I thought it was going to be. I was really kind of expecting chaos, and that's exactly what we got, right?
Yeah.
And, I the way I sum it up the best, I think, is that I went into the game and I took Miami minus 2.5 just so I could have a little bit of something on the game. And I also did have a strong feeling that they would win on that game. And Drake fans traveled more than Miami fans.
Yeah.
Take that for what you will. And Drake fans, had the defense chants going and all those different chants you would see at a home game for a team. And I found myself rooting for Drake, even though I was sitting there with a Miami ticket, just because it was way more. It was just so much fun, to get in with the fans and do the defense chant and all that different stuff is just fun. Cheer when they get baskets and stuff, but it was nice to see Miami come out with a cover at the end of the day. So I guess I did get the best of both worlds in that respect.
Yeah. We were. It's fun being part of the Social Anarchist. I'll say this: I don't know if Drake had more fans there, but they were more centralized
More
and more
loud.
and more
Definitely
vocal.
louder. That's for sure.
We met our first. Well, I met my first ever Indiana fans. I can't say if I met an Indiana fan or not. But.
Let's
His buddy was a Syracuse fan, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah,
I didn't catch that.
that's weird. But before we exit the college basketball realm, we do need to discuss the coaching cycle because it's already been nuts. Kind of got. Really, to be fair, I think the first kickoff of it was Pat Ewing getting officially fired from Georgetown, even though we've had these rumblings about a couple different spots throughout, really since conference tournament time at the beginning of the month. But Georgetown didn't even get the first hire. St. John's, who I believe technically still hasn't fired their current head coach, Anderson, yet. Very interesting going on there. But they go out, they hire Rick Pitino. So Rick Pitino back in the Big East. And I kind of love it, to be honest with you. I don't want to be the guy, I think Brent Axe even said it, where it's like, I don't want to be that guy harkening back, but like Rick Pitino, Big East, New York City, especially at St. John's. Like, that's just, wow. It's a huge wow factor.
Yeah.
More than anything else. And so at that point, right, Pitino gets hired at St. John's, and they roll out. The Big East commissioner's there for it at the intro. The legend, Lou Carnesecca, is at the presser with him as well. And look, this is, I think Rick even said this is more likely going to be his last stop, right? He's 70 years old. But St. John's has the opportunity now to be the most relevant they've been since the Lou Carnesecca era, to be honest. Georgetown goes out. They bring in Ed Cooley from Providence, so an interconference jump within the Big East.
Always interesting.
Yeah. They go out in turn. I think they get Kim English from, I forget where, off the top of my head. Providence does. And then, through the course of it all, Notre Dame, which has become, I wouldn't say the albatross of coaching here, but they go out, they get Micah Shrewsbury from Penn State, which I was pleasantly surprised by, to be honest. But then you have reports Mike Brace going to South Florida, and now nothing's like close to being done yet, allegedly. Yeah, I don't know, but what a coaching circus, carousel, and cycle has already been. And like, how do you feel? Because you're part of this, more or less. I mean, Syracuse, we could make the case, was part of it, but they went in-house and they didn't bother with it. But Notre Dame went out of the tree, which they've been kind of known to do here now lately for pretty much every sport. But they go out, they get a guy in Shrewsbury who has made a name for himself, but known basketball guy. He's from Indiana, not from specifically South Bend, but he's from Indianapolis, so he's an Indiana guy at least, I like the hire for you. I'm not sure if it's the right move for him at the moment, but it's a good move for Notre Dame.
I did not hear about Mike Bray. That would be something if he went to South Florida. That is a huge demotion.
Well, probably a different discussion for a different podcast.
Stan Heath did a great job there, though.
Yeah.
But I love the hire. I didn't know if they were going to go in-house or they were going to go out and get a guy like Micah Shrewsbury. But
Micah?
Micah?
Who the hell is Micah?
That's Micah.
The only Micah I know is Micah Hakkinen, the F1 world champion.
Micah. I'll know his name eventually. But, Penn State, he did a great job with them.
We had a dog in college named Mika.
Huh?
My roommate had a dog in college named Mika, so it could be that.
Oh, it's a dog, not a person. Go ahead and do that.
But he did a great job with Penn State. Penn State definitely not known for its basketball.
No.
Notre Dame's definitely not a basketball school either. They're a football school and always will be. But
it's not surprising if you hear Notre Dame's competitive at least.
yes. So I like to hire a great guy. I don't know if number 10 for Penn State has any more eligibility. I'd like to see if you can bring him along with him. But kid's a hell of a shooter.
Right.
It's going to be a whole new team next year. There's barely any guys, like a bunch of them graduated or went to Syracuse.
Oh, darn it.
But, no, I'm looking forward to a new era. I wish Mike Brey the best of luck. I think he's a great coach. I hope he doesn't go to South Florida. That would just...
I like it for him, to be honest. I don't think it's that's the thing. And I'll say this briefly before we move on because I don't want to spend a ton of time on it. I don't think it's necessarily a lateral move, but I also don't think it's a demotion either. That's just, to me, that's just where the ACC is at the moment.
Yeah, I disagree. I think it is a demotion.
Well,
South Florida's not a good job.
The brand of it's a demotion. I'm not going to disagree with you on that aspect of it. Like, the brand of it is, I do agree with you. It's, you go from Notre Dame, right, to USF. I don't disagree with you, okay, in the brand side of it. I think job-wise, though, I don't think it's necessarily a demotion or a promotion. I think it's more lateral than anything else. Only because, like I said, that's just where the ACC is right now.
He's taking the Tom Brady route. He wants to go to Florida, still coach, but really half retired.
Right.
So,
that's what Raul Massimino did.
Mm-hmm.
So look at me bringing up all these Big East names from the past.
Looking forward to the new era. I think it's a great hire for right now. We'll see.
Yeah.
That's really all I can say.
All right, let's head over to the World Baseball Classic. Spend a few moments on that. Japan wins 3-2 over the USA to take home the World Baseball Classic crown for 2023. Thrilling game. Did you watch any of it by chance?
I did watch it.
Okay.
I watched the championship.
What'd you think of the championship?
It's a 3-2 baseball game, so it's not the most exciting, but great game, great atmosphere. Loved how it ended. Shohei, not that I loved the result, but Shohei Ohtani striking out Mike Trout, that was pretty cool. The Angels, obviously people know they're Angels teammates, so, and they could be arguably the two best players in baseball. And so
You could argue it.
you could you definitely could argue it, but it was, Shohei is the real deal. The fact that the way he can hit, and for him to go out there in that ninth inning and close and shut the door, he's unbelievable. And there's rumors that he might be the first ever billion-dollar athlete.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if anyone's ever worth $1 billion to play a sport, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was him because he is very good talent.
Let's talk a little bit more about Ohtani here. Took home the World Baseball Classic MVP. His stat line, he hit .435. On base of .606.
Yeah, like 11
Slugged
walks.
.739. 4 doubles, a home run, 10 walks. Pitching, a 1.86 ERA, 11 strikeouts, and 9 2/3 innings. Literally, and you can't argue it, the best hitter and best pitcher in the World Baseball Classic this year.
I can argue it. I think
Go
Trey
on.
Turner was the best hitter in the World Baseball Classic.
He didn't put up the /9 like that. He didn't,
But
He
put the whole country on his back.
Fair. Okay.
I guess
That
Shohei, but
that portion of it's not actually inaccurate. That is decently accurate.
the problem with America, even though they pitched all right. They didn't have enough pitching, but
They didn't
also
have
got a
like
hit.
they just. If there's any Cardinals fans,
Paul,
out
I forgot to
here,
ask you, why doesn't Judge play?
he's all playing 26 the way it sounds. I don't think he wanted to the contract year this
Makes
past
sense.
year, but
So someone's making a decision in 2023 about playing in 2026.
he's made it known that he wants to play in 26.
Okay.
Would they ever move it to the fall?
So, well, that's going to be the final discussion point here in a few minutes. But I mean, I don't care if Cardinals fans, if they're actually listening to this, come at me, right? Like, what the hell is Wainwright doing out there? Pitching in game one or anything like that. You know, but it's whatever. I'm with you there.
I feel you, man. I hate Cardinals fans too.
But again, I think this speaks volumes really to something I mentioned a little bit ago here. Not this podcast, but in prior. Like, I think it speaks volumes to what the leagues outside of the MLB have in baseball, right? Whether it's the Mexican League, the Japanese leagues, whether it's Pacific or Central, KBO in Korea. Look, Japan went out there and they handled business and got out there victorious. And look, they just looked like the better ball club, especially on Tuesday night. They just did. They looked like probably the better ball club overall the whole World Baseball Classic. And eye test wise, they passed it. Stat line, numbers wise, you can't deny it. They passed it. And they more than deservingly won the title. Nate, you kind of alluded to it here a little bit. World Baseball Classic always has been held during springtime, and I think a lot of this is only picked up only because of the names that got hurt in it: Edwin Diaz, Freddie Freeman, et cetera, et cetera. And to me, I don't lean one way or another. I think these injuries could happen no matter what, no matter when it's played. I do agree though. It probably should be held in November, post MLB season, post KBO, post Mexican League, post the Japanese leagues finishing up, where most of these players play. You can get it in before the Australian League gets going in December. You can get it going before the Dominican Winter Leagues and the Caribbean Winter Leagues get going in December. Give whether it's the week or so off or maybe even a month off and rip it the final 2 weeks of November. They kept it within a 2-week window the past couple weeks anyway. Like, it's clearly possible you can do it in this 2-week window. I'm not opposed to doing it in the fall at this point because you look at the venues, too, that they had it at least this year, right? Southern U.S., Southeast U.S., Southwest U.S., domed in Tokyo and domed in Taichung. Or not domed in Taichung, but they're close enough to the equator that's like, okay, it's not going to make a big difference type deal. Or if you don't want to go there, then maybe that is your opportunity to say have it in a place like Australia where baseball is just popping off right now. But I that's my thought on that.
What about in the middle of the season, like World Cup and all them? They stop play.
Well,
hockey stops the Olympics.
Soccer / football depends, right? Because it's a little bit trickier because everybody's pro leagues are at different times of the year, more or less, and I think that's a little bit more of a difficult thing to kind of address in a way. The MLS kind of runs summer into winter. The Premier League kind of runs, I think it's like winter into the spring type stuff into summer, or it might be vice versa, whatever it is. But I think it's just a little bit tougher in that sense. So, like, they obviously do it. And the World Cup's been around for much longer than the World Baseball Classic. Baseball is, most of their main seasons are kept at the same time of year. So I think it makes it easier to kind of do that. I think it would make it tougher across the board if you were to do it because I don't want to downgrade certain leagues and certain other sports, but like your main pool for hockey, for example, right? You're either playing in North America or I guess, is it fair to say Russia still has a good pool, Nate, of like players within the KHL, talent-wise anyway?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. But like, if you're a good enough player, odds are you're not picking and choosing like, I'm going to play in Germany this year.
Yeah, unless you're over the hill.
Yeah, I mean,
really
so like, whereas baseball, you can still be competent, but you may not be, major league teams may not want you, but like the Pacific League in Japan might want you. So I think it's tougher in that case, but to do it middle of the year for baseball, I'm not a big fan of doing it in the middle of the year for baseball either, to be honest.
Comes a scheduling problem.
Yeah. To me, anyway.
We're never getting rid of those 162 games.
No. Money's too big, too vast. What did you make, though? We kind of alluded to it. What did you make of that final at bat, though, between Trout and Ohtani? Because I could have seen, I knew as soon, so like Ohtani throws that ball 3 pitch in the dirt and it goes back. I'm like, he's either going to do the 102 down the pipe again because Trout was like double hitching and not able to catch up. Looked like a brick up there, to be honest.
Yeah.
Or you do the slider down and away, and Trout swings at that pitch literally every single time. It's nonstop with him. He'll swing it every time and slider down and away. And what do you know?
Ohtani had him the whole at bat.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of time. And that last pitch, unbelievable.
I chuckle at people who think that the batter has the advantage in that situation when they don't. You can know what pitch is coming, right? That's why I always joke. I don't joke, but that's why I always kind of chuckle at people who, like, did the Astros have some sort of advantage? Yeah, probably. I'm not going to sit here and deny the whole thing, but, like, at the same token, like, personally speaking as a player, I was always one who would, like, I'd rather just not know what's coming. Because, look, somebody can drop a 12-6 curveball in at you, but, like, you know what movement it's going to be, but you don't know where it's going to be. Like, you can plan for it to be on the outside. What happens if it comes on the inside? Then you're just screwed no matter what. So,
Does this end the debate? Who's better, Ohtani or Trout?
I mean, Ohtani's been better.
I mean, what did we expect, United States? Did we really expect Mike Trout to win us a championship? Did you really think Trout was going to help us?
It was kind of, this portion of it was funny to me. It was like that bat was like the perfect synopsis of Mike Trout, in all honesty. For me, anyway. Perfect synopsis.
He's just something else.
Yeah.
He's not a winner. Just like James Harden, Ben Simmons.
Yeah. So, either way. All right, let's, before we head out of here, we were, as we mentioned, all three of us were in the Albany region, the capital region this past weekend, covering to varying degrees and various forms the high school basketball championships for the state. Myself and Nate, we broadcast and did the Waterloo girls games, and they won the championship. More on that in a second. Nick, you were a proud member of the traveling I-87 club all weekend.
Mm-hmm. I enjoyed this
Yeah.
at the stadium in Glens Falls.
So we didn't go to Glens Falls, but what was your takeaway from Glens Falls? You're up there for, was it just Newark?
Yeah, just an hour and a half, and I was gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like I haven't been in the Blue Cross in a while. It was like I would say it's like a miniature Blue Cross. It's not as big, but it was pretty cool. Got to go right down near the court there. Got to go under the tunnel to interview Coach Caparis after the game. It sucked that Newark couldn't win. I don't know. They struggled. They just really struggled offensively, and that West Hill team's a really good team.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really seen a team that had like all 5 of their starters can handle the ball like unbelievably. They were a very good team, and the fact that Newark was only down 10 going last quarter was pretty big for them. So, yeah, disappointing for them. Disappointing for Canandaigua girls, also lost in the championship. But Waterloo won.
Mm-hmm.
Waterloo's lucky Minders isn't in Class B1, but, it's all right.
It's not what we're doing here. Why you gotta do that?
But yeah, Waterloo, great story. The fact that, a lot of people would say, I thought they had a better team last year, and they come back this year, and they go out and win the state championship after losing the state championship game last year. So they changed up the style. Definitely a lot quicker team they had this year, shooting a lot of threes. And at points, they're very deadly, and they get behind. Usually it was the third quarter where they came back, but it was the fourth quarter here in the championship game. I think they were down 10 going last quarter.
They were.
And when they get hot from 3, they're unstoppable. Coach Bree he's an unbelievable coach, and hats off to them. They did a great job and well deserved. And there really wasn't like any moment where you like okay, maybe this is the ending, because you always knew they could figure it out. It's just too long of a game for them. And, great senior leadership, unbelievable job, and the first state championship in Waterloo history.
Yeah.
Not just the program history, but school history. So that's very cool in itself. So obviously a big Minders guy, but, congratulations to Waterloo.
This team was probably the most fun to call a game of, in all honesty. Maybe it's a little bit of the bias in me, and I know it's a little bit different for say us, Nick, because we were the post kids growing up, right, down the block and stuff like that, and so we weren't accustomed to doing, I'd say, the run and gun style offense or anything like that, but it's the way that I enjoy watching basketball. We played, and they run it very well. It's interesting you brought up, right, how the team maybe last year everybody thought was the better of the two, but I think the team this year, they understood their roles so well and executed so well on it that I don't think it really mattered if it was better, if the team was better than last year compared to this year or anything like that. And just look, good defense leads to good offense, and that's I think the real cornerstone of this team. To be honest with you, I mean, they're tough defensively.
That full court pressure.
Yeah, they were actually, I think, Putnam Valley had, I think, the first bucket of the fourth because they trailed at 12 at one point in the fourth, Waterloo did. But 29-9 score differential in the fourth quarter is just crazy. Nuts. And to me, I don't know did they shoot more threes this year than they did last year? I'm intrigued. I'm wondering about that because it felt like they didn't actually shoot all that more this year. It felt, to me anyway, it didn't.
I would think so.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but it didn't feel like that.
I mean, Giovanna White-Precipio, she got her shots up, so that's 15 shots a game.
That definitely did, yeah, because, Gia was taking shots from inside. Definitely shot more this year.
Most of those, they didn't really play much inside game this year, so.
Well, in that sense, yeah, but, they weren't afraid to crash the basket. I could, Caraballo, Lewis, DeSanto, they all did it. They weren't afraid.
I don't have the stats in front of me, but I'm gonna assume they.
I'll find some film and.
But the thing about Waterloo is that this isn't the end. They got some of these younger players on this team, Addison Bree, Macy Muller. Muller. Bad at pronunciation, but and then they got some 8th graders and definitely some 7th graders coming up, and obviously they're going to be very young next year, but very well experienced. So I don't think they're going anywhere. I think there could be another state championship in the future of this program.
Agree.
Wait, a quick note on that. Will they not have a senior next year? I'm just trying to think. It's not something I've thought about.
I don't remember
before.
seeing a junior.
I don't think they're going to have a senior next year.
It's nuts. It's crazy. They don't adapt. They reload.
I could be wrong, but I'm just thinking off the top of my head right now, and I don't think don't think there's a junior on that team this year.
Is there even a sophomore?
Oh, wow. That's a good point. No, yeah, there was by the end of the year, I think, call-up wise. Crap. This is bad. I'm used to seeing the roster. I can't picture it in my head now.
Yeah, there's a couple of them that were call-ups, yeah.
Man, they got to lock these girls up. They got to sign some extensions.
That's not how it works. I love it, though. I love it. So, congrats to Waterloo. It was a fun weekend. Growing up last year, I made mention of this earlier in the week. It was fun this year because it was such a more packed atmosphere even compared to last year. This year we finally had the quote unquote normal season. No really restrictions or anything like that. You had a full crowd, full atmosphere at Hudson Valley Community College on the girls' side.
Big banner.
So, big banner. That's true. But
who took that banner down? I want to know. Who got it up there?
I don't know. But it just a fun time. Congrats to all the teams, but obviously Waterloo, Victor boys as well. They won. So good stuff all the way around here, I'd say, locally. And Section 5.
Don't forget about the Webster Schroeder girls.
Yeah, they're up. They're really Finger Lakes, but it is where life is worth living, apparently. So that will do it for Fresh Takes this week. Appreciate everybody for tuning in and listening. Nick, Got a shout out this week?
Yeah, shout out Phil Kerrigan. He's out in front of our tournament challenge championship.
Oh, Phil.
Phil Kerrigan, yeah. Yeah, shout out Phil. Obviously, probably going to need Houston to win. So we'll see. So I guess double shout out Spencer Tolles, my photographer at the Times, is in second place. I talked to him yesterday. He's all nervous. He thinks he can't catch Phil, but there's a lot of people in the hunt still. So shout out Phil, shout out Spencer. Best of luck to everyone's brackets.
Yes, agreed. Best of luck to everybody's brackets. So appreciate everybody for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, all the fun stuff. Catch us live here on YouTube or catch up anytime on YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, or, well, what is it now? Spotify for podcasters, I think now it's actually called, right? Not Anchor, I think, right? Thank you, Nate. R.I.P. Anchor. Fun while it lasted. So,
Anchor's dead.
Yeah, they rebranded it.
Really?
Pour one out. So appreciate Nate behind the scenes as always. And until next week, we'll talk to everybody then. Have a great weekend, everybody.